Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Sabrina and today we have another slow cooker recipe. We're going to be making an easy high protein beef stew. So let's go ahead, get into all of the ingredients, but before we do, if you enjoy this video, please feel free to give it a like and subscribe to my channel. All right, let's get started. So I got inspiration for this beef stew from themagicalslowcooker.com, and then I did what I normally do, which is kind of tweak the recipe to make it more macro friendly and then also increase the servings so I don't have to cook as much. So I'm going to be making 10 servings with this beef stew, which is twice the original recipe. So if you only wanted to make 5 servings and just have it for, one night for a bigger family or a couple nights if you're a smaller family, then feel free to do that. But this is for 10 servings. So for 2 of us, that's going to last the week. And then the other thing I did was try to increase the protein where I could. So I'll show you how I did that. But first, let's get started with all of the different ingredients. We're going to be using half of an onion, and I like to be precise, so in the description box I'll have all the ingredients typed up and how many grams that is, but it's half an onion or 200 grams. I'm going to be using a lot of carrots. This is 20 ounces of carrots that we've roughly chopped up here. And then I'm also going to be using about 4 medium potatoes is what I used. And these are yellow potatoes, and that's about 700 grams. And then I also wanted to add some peas, which isn't in the original recipe, but for me, that just seemed like a nice thing to add with your stew. So I have 1 bag of frozen peas here that we'll be adding. Something else that wasn't in the original recipe, but I kind of wanted to add a little bit of a starch to it. I know we have the potatoes, but I thought some egg noodles would work pretty well. So I've added about 2 cups dry here, which is 70 grams. And so I'm not going to add this at the beginning. I'll add it a little further along because you know how quickly egg noodles cook up. And then the original recipe, of course, is beef. And I've got beef here, but I've also got a little bit of turkey. And this isn't necessarily something I recommend. It just happens to be what we had on hand. So I would probably recommend just go ahead and buy 2 ounces of beef. But if you have a different combination, that will work perfectly. So I'm using a pound of ground beef and then also a little less than a pound of ground turkey because that's what I had on hand. And that's what we're going to use. And then for the liquid portion of the stew, we are using a base of beef broth. I just got this from Swanson. And then here's one of the ways we're going to be able to add a little additional protein. So this is organic beef broth, and where this only has 2 grams of protein per serving, this has 10 grams of protein per serving. So that's going to work really, really well. And this has 2 cups in it, so we'll be adding 4 cups total of liquid. Something we're going to use to give it some more flavor is going to be this tomato paste. So I'll be adding about 5 tablespoons in here. And then the rest of the items really are just the spices I'm going to be using, also salt and pepper, but I've got garlic and then onion salt, which I love. You can use Italian seasoning. I was out, so I'm going to be using parsley. And then also I like to add a little bit of smoked paprika to almost everything I make, especially if it's in this sort of heartier, rich red sort of concoction. I feel like that smoked paprika just adds a little layer of flavor that I really like. So all of this together, each serving is going to be 24 grams of protein, which I think is just great for a weeknight dinner. Okay, I'm going to get the slow cooker on now, and then we'll start putting in all of the ingredients. And just so you know, we're going to be cooking this for about 6 to 8 hours on low or until the potatoes are tender. And as I mentioned, I'll probably be adding the noodles in around hour 5 or 6. We'll just keep an eye on it. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start getting our ingredients into the crock pot. I'm going to start with the potatoes. Next up, we have the carrots. I'm going to add our onions. Our peas. Next, we're going to add our 2 pounds, and you can use all beef. I've got a mix of beef and turkey here. All right, next up, I'm going to add 5 tablespoons of tomato paste, and I'm going to weigh this out to make sure I get the right amount. Okay, now we're going to add our liquid, so our beef broth, then our bone broth. Okay, and then I'm also going to add about 1 cup of water, and I'm just using the can from the beef broth. And then finally, we will add some of our spices. So we have the onion salt. And this is something I do not measure precisely. I just measure with my heart. We have our garlic powder next, some parsley. And then I like to add a little smoked paprika to add a depth of flavor. Okay, and of course you always want to taste and see how your seasonings are coming along, but I'm going to go ahead and give this a giant stir. Okay, so I have stirred everything up and I am going to let this do its thing. I'm also going to keep an eye on the liquid. I can always add some additional water if it's looking like it needs a little bit more liquid. We want this to be hearty, but we don't want it to be, not enough liquid to go around and make it a soup. So I'll probably end up adding another cup, but I'm going to go ahead, keep this on low and check on it probably in about 4 hours. Okay, and I just wanted to show you the macros for our beef stew. It is 6.3 grams of fat, about 26 grams of carbs, and 24 grams of protein. As I mentioned, that's going to make 10 servings, and here are all the ingredients. We've got the beef bone broth, we've got our ground beef, our beef broth, that's not bone broth, our tomato paste, egg noodles, yellow potatoes, carrots, and again, I use turkey. I suggest using 2 pounds of ground beef instead, but this will work perfectly. Peas and yellow onion. Okay, so it has been 5.5 hours, so let's check on how it's doing. Like it's looking pretty good. Things are definitely getting cooked down. Just gonna check a potato here. That is looking like it is tender. So I'm going to go ahead and add my pasta and then probably keep this on low for another 30 minutes and then I will come back, give it a taste test and see how it's doing. All right, guys, good news. The stew is done and it is looking fabulous. So you can see the pasta has all cooked up really well. And we taste tested the potatoes and the carrots and everything is cooked. So all that's left to do is plate up some bowls and enjoy. So in terms of cooking time, I would recommend checking in around 5 hours and then max you'll probably want to go is about 7 on low. If things are not cooking properly, you can always whack it up to high. But let's go ahead and get some of this into a bowl. All right, so that is dinner plated up, and that is dinner for the week. This serving is 24 grams of protein. It was super easy to put together, and I recommend this meal all winter, autumn, any time of year, really, but it's really nice in these warm, cozy months. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please feel free to give it a like, and let me know if you'd like more slow cooker recipes. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.